You're listening to a new episode of Girl Down Podcast with your host, me, Aeon. So sit back, relax, and listen as I unpack the uncertainty of my 30s, one episode at a time. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Girl Down Podcast. And today I have a special guest with me. I've been watching her for a while and I wanted to have her on the show to just share space with her. She's a very, very positive woman, a very beautiful woman who I've met before and that I feel like is doing positive things. And I love to get people, especially people from my community, on this platform so that you all can find about the work that they do, the callings that are on their life, and that we can just share space and be enlightened together. So without further ado, welcome on to Girl Down Podcast, Miss Jade. How are you doing?
Hello, greetings and salutations, everyone. Hello, greetings and salutations, Brianna. I appreciate you for having me on.
Of course. So before we get into the questions, how are you feeling today?
You know, today has been a very busy day. As you know, I'm kind of massaging multiple birds with one stone. So very, very busy day, but I definitely wanted to create space and make time to share space with you. So I really appreciate it. But it's been a busy day. I'll be excited to relax later on today.
Yes. So tell me, where do you live now? And let's go into where you originate from.
Okay, sure. So currently I reside in Texas. I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, born and raised. Y'all can clap. So born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, moved around after Hurricane Katrina, found my way to Dallas. And so, you know, in the DFW area, and I tend to find that it's a place to live and a place to exist. And it's also a place that you can thrive. So I had to leave Louisiana to come to Texas for greater opportunity.
So going to the next question, how do you identify yourself?
So I identify myself, so as a woman that has many intersections, I find that it's important for me to acknowledge them when and where applicable. And I know you understand what I mean when I say that. So as a woman who is Black, who is from the South, who is a woman of trans experience, a woman who just really intersects in many different aspects of the myriad of spaces that we as women intersect. I don't know, there's just something different about being a Black woman that also happens to be a woman of trans experience, and how those identities intersect, that make unique individuals, in my opinion. So yeah, that's a long drawn out, as you can tell, I'm probably a little more tired, but a long drawn out way of saying, you know, I intersect many different parts of gender identity.
I don't think it's drawn out. I think it's always necessary, especially with people that have the trans identity, to give folks space to define what that is for themselves, and for folks not to assume or
Correct.
not to label people. So I thank you for taking the time to break that down. And can you tell me about how the blackness of your identity and the transness and the woman part of your identity, how that has shaped your life, just existing in the South, and being somebody that's in professional spaces as you are, like what has that experience been like for you?
I can definitely say it's been an experience that I will always remember, and I'll never forget. So one of the things that really sticks with me being a Black woman in the South is that you and we've seen this in modern times in current days, even in the past few days, thinking about um, what's going on currently
Mm-hmm.
in the world, that you have to meet an expectation that supersedes almost anyone else's, just to be considered professional or to be considered um, qualified to do things that you may be overqualified to do. And that's something that has stuck with me throughout my career. And it's not synonymous with where I am right now in my career, but it's been something that I've experienced throughout my whole journey, both pre-transition and post-transition. Um, so it's definitely challenging, and it kind of creates this idea that no matter what you do, it may never be good enough. But what I had to tell myself is that if I consider it to be good enough, and if my work speaks for itself, as it does, all of the other opinions don't matter, and all of the other things that are at play don't matter as much. Though you still experience it and it still impacts you, it just doesn't have the same amount of weight that it ordinarily would. So it's definitely challenging being in the South, as a Black woman, when you add the layer of being of trans experience, that just creates even more challenges, depending on the spaces that you're trying to enter. Um, so, I just kind of roll with the punches, and I've I'm thankful and very humbled to say that I don't look like what I've been through. And my goal is just to be as authentic as I can be, and to just do my best to leave a legacy for, my name and the things that I believe in.
Thank you for sharing that. I th- the I don't know. Well, we've known each other through social media, but one of the first times that we met each other was through the BTEC conference,
Hmm.
and you are in leadership at BTEC, and just meeting you was a wonderful experience, and then just being seeing you as a person, but then seeing you just as a leader and helping to run the show, I was like, who is this woman? And I need to get to know her, because I'm drawn to other women that I can tell have just like that presence about them, that business sense. Since the last BTEC that I went to was 2019, and since then, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we haven't been able to have them. But
Hmm.
that was my first one that I went to, and it was just such a magical experience meeting you and meeting so many other folks in the community, and just being able to share space, and just being able to. It's one thing to meet somebody online, which I'm sure we all have, but to be able to experience you in person, and just to see how sweet you were,
Oh,
but
thank
also see how much of a boss you were. I was so honored to share space with you. Uh,
oh, well,
I
thank you.
wanted
I
to,
appreciate that.
of course, of course. So I wanted to get on the show because I know, because we are Facebook friends and we follow each other and support each other on social media. I saw that about a month ago that you announced a new endeavor, Just Love Collaborative.
Yeah.
incorporated. So, and anytime I see one of my sisters, like you said, taking a leap of faith, um, being defiant by creating things for yourself and promoting yourself, it makes me happy. It lights a fire in me that I need to keep on going, and I just get really happy, and I get really excited when people start things that are aligned with their passions. So, can you tell me a little bit about what Just Love Collaborative is in its
Sure.
current state?
Yes, yes, yes. So one of the things that I realized a long time ago is that I really had this strong desire, and we probably have talked about this when I first met you, or in some spaces at when you were at BTech. I've always had a strong desire for the opportunity to create like a coalition or a collaborative of, you know, women of color who who were like-minded, who shared similar viewpoints, who could really create this sisterhood that I find to be missing at times, just in life in general, regardless of your intersections of your identity. To me, that true sisterhood is something that I found to be lacking in some spaces. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to create an opportunity to foster sisterhood and to foster um, the amazing attributes that make us special as women, and that I wanted to create a space where people were honored for their human experience, and honored for their being and their gifts and their attributes, all of the things that bring so much positivity to the world that we don't often acknowledge in one another. I wanted to create a space where all of those things could come to the forefront and can be um, holistically enriched in a way. So you can kind of apply those things in your day-to-day life. So one of the things that I always say is that, at Just Love, we always want to lead with love. So regardless of whatever we're doing. The offerings that we have are, personal, professional coaching, motivational speaking, whatever type of workshops or whatever type of training that may happen with the collaborative. Everything is going to be centered in love, and everything is centered in love, because at the end of the day, love is so critical to every aspect of life, whether you realize it or not. So at its core, um, you know, uh, one of the things that we also say is that we're a bridge builder for women and girls of color. And one of the things that I want to have a direct focus on is women and girls of trans experience, because they too make up, women and girls of color, or we too make up women and girls of color. So it's really important for me to create space where people feel safe, where people feel heard, where people feel seen, and where they can really thrive. And so Just Love Collaborative is here for that. Um, and I did found this collaborative, but my goal is for this to continue to grow. Um, and as you know, the word collaborative means to bring together. So this isn't just about me. This is about people, other brilliant minds, other brilliant women, other brilliant girls of color that can bring their expertise and their influence and their resources into the fold, so that people can come to Just Love for, whatever it is whatever resource that it is that they may need. And, we can provide that support to get them to whatever their goal is and whatever it is they're trying to seek.
So tell me, how did you come, what life and or work experiences brought you to want to create this type of organization with this type of mission?
So believe it or not, I started working you can't see my air quotes, but I started working in corporate America when I was 14. Um, and I'm,
14.
yes, I actually worked in Gaithersburg, Maryland, because I couldn't work legally in Louisiana. And my mother lived in Virginia. So, honey, a girl is gonna hustle. So I went all the way to Maryland to work when I was 14, and I did skip tracing, and I was a switchboard operator. So between those two things, I was finding people with LexisNexis and the whole shebang. It was a thrill for a 14-year-old. Nonetheless, um, I said all that to say that I've been working for a very long time. And that just got my feet wet in corporate America. So my first more professional job as an adult, I did work in emergency management after Hurricane Katrina. And I helped to build and develop a lot of the different systems that were in place for the Louisiana Recovery Authority, which was critical in rebuilding infrastructure and rebuilding homes and really getting people back home after Hurricane Katrina. So I did a lot of work with them, did a lot of work in emergency management. Later on, bloomed into doing some compliance and monitoring work, all the while in the midst of all those things, going to school. I started a business that was called Vivid Designs. I did custom event planning and decor. So I operated a business, I was going to school, and I was working. After I did that for several years, and after, failed attempts on thriving and living in Louisiana, I decided to leave Louisiana, and I moved to Texas. And moving to Texas, I did training and development for a large grocery retailer, where I helped them to really put together some of their policies for transitioning at the workplace, which was really cool. I later, as you know, did volunteer work with Black Trans Advocacy Coalition, and really supported with Black Trans Women Incorporated and the Black Trans Advocacy Conference that was held. So I did that for several, I don't know how many conferences I supported with, but several. And from there, I went to another organization where I helped them to develop and cultivate a TGNC program called Gender Brave that was for TGNC folk in the DFW area. So helped them to build out that program. From there, I went to Age United, where I started as a program manager and became a senior program manager, where I managed a $11 million initiative to impact Black, gay, bisexual, queer, same gender loving men, and TGNC folk. So that has led me to where I am today. I just joined an organization called Transgender Law Center as their senior manager of institutional giving. And I've really I've fell in love with, well, let me say, I keep falling in love over and over again with my heart for people. And as that continues to happen, the journey continues to unfold. So those are kind of the things that I've done. And I'm sure that there's some things that I probably haven't mentioned, but I'm the worst at talking about myself or the things that I've done, because there's nothing that I really do with the idea or the desire to be acknowledged for. Any and everything that I do because it's a part of my purpose, and it's a part of my goal and the things that really bring me joy, love, and light. So.
And thank you for explaining that. And just like so when I started like my podcast, like for me, it's not about just having the podcast and having the visibility. For me, it's about creating a space where I can be my most authentic self,
Mhm.
and that I can connect and kind of build community by sharing my vulnerability. Like that, like that's my purpose. And I think I got to that space because in my professional life, while some experiences were more fulfilling than others, I really don't feel like, as somebody that lives in the intersections of so many identities and living in the world that doesn't create space for me, I often don't feel like I can go into the work world or be a creative, bringing all aspects of myself to the table. So
Right.
that's why creating like media platforms is so important for me, because it's a way for me to join all parts of my identity to myself and to put it on display and to share it with other people. And what so beyond the obvious of creating or organization to serve women and girls, and also trans women and girls, which I think is amazing. What is it that you really get out of doing this type of work, and just being this type of beacon in the world with this organization now?
That is probably one of the toughest questions that I've been asked, and it's 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 a question that I probably will never fully know the answer to. But what I can say is that I'll always be responsive to what the universe guides me and leads me to doing when it comes to being a vessel and being, a vision of love. So, one of the things that I say when people ask me, what is your purpose in life? My purpose is to be a living, breathing example of what love is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what it feels like. And that's not something that I really I really embodied until I became my most authentic self. And once I became my most authentic self, I was able to live my purpose fully and freely, by showing people love. And by, I mentioned earlier, I have such a big heart for people. I One of the gifts that I have, I can see the heart of a person regardless of their shell. So, we all wear masks, right? So regardless of the mask that someone may have on, we as Black and brown people sometimes have to put on a mask to get through day to day. Sometimes we have to put on the mask to go to the grocery store, wherever it is, or we're going into spaces that we might be educating or informing people, and trying to protect our spirit, trying to protect our energy. We have to wear a mask or what have you. But for me, regardless of that, being present for someone else, I can always see the heart of the person. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's also um, it can be a challenging thing, because if it's a person that's very, very like toxic on the outside, but they have a beautiful heart on the inside, that may impact me in a different way. Um, so I have to be mindful about those things, even though, my goal is to be an example of love and light. It's tough and it's difficult, but I get so much joy out of helping people. I get so much joy out of, sharing space with people, motivating people, showing people the love that they possess inside of them, and really just seeing people. I don't think we realize how much value there is in someone acknowledging you and seeing you for the brilliant woman that you are, for the brilliant person that you are, and giving you your human experience and saying, I see you, I acknowledge you, I love you, you're an amazing person, continue to do what you're doing. And that brings me so much joy. So long as the universe continues to provide and continues to confirm the steps that I make, that's what I'll be doing.
So you said that some of the activities that Just Love could offer are life coaching classes. One of the first things that comes to my mind, since you want to work with women and girls, how do you anticipate creating space amongst cis women and trans women, knowing that there might be a possibility that trans folks aren't welcome in the room, or
Oh, well, honey,
that
we
yeah. So
established that at the very beginning. Anyone that comes through these doors, anyone that comes through a Just Love collaborative established situation, you understand at the invitation what it is. So there isn't the idea or the energy around people not being welcome, people not being heard, people not being respected, acknowledged. Like that's not something that I stand for and that I will allow in any space that has my name attached to it, the name of this organization. That will not be a thing. I am a person who is I'm 110% there to educate and inform people, but there's a way to educate and inform and to express your opinion without, degrading someone or, doing it in um, an unfavorable way. So I definitely I hear you 110% because I've been in those spaces before where, a space wasn't cultivated to accept or affirm me. But that's one of the things that Just Love stands for is that we affirm all self-identified women and girls of color, regardless of your identity. And if that's not something that you can do, then it may not be a space for you to be in with other women. um, One of the things that I love about some of the women that I've been able to engage with is that they are 110% on board with the idea of acknowledging our oneness as women and also acknowledging our differences as women. So I had a great opportunity to share space with an organization that is that they're kind of creating a generational um, generational foundation for women in the South called Women's Foundation of the South. And I actually um, met with them. I was a speaker um, at one of their first events, and it was such an amazing space to be in where I was seen, acknowledged, and heard, um, not because of my transness or not because of my what made me different, but the things that brought us together and connected us as women. So I hope that that answered your question. It's just really important for me to acknowledge the things that connect us together to create that sisterhood, and it's also important to understand that there are things that are inevitable that make us different, but there are so many things that connect us as women. So I think it's just it's a delicate balance of the two. Um, but I've been in spaces where I've been able to garner support from, both cis women, trans women. So for me, I'm just gonna enter into the space as I have done in the past, and making it happen.
I'm glad to hear that's the tone that you're setting for this organization. As I get older and as I'm blessed
As you
to,
get more seasoned.
yeah, as I get more seasoned, but older, like I think being the ability to get older is a gift.
Absolutely. Blessed.
I I've had to reinterrogate um what my what my definition of safety is
Mm-hmm.
and how I feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go down like into the recesses of my mind and I think about um what safety looks like for me or where I feel safety from, it's always been around other women, particularly Black women,
Mm-hmm.
and creating community with women. And a- as I progress on, it's me dispelling the myths from my head and coming up with tangible ways in order to decrease the harm and to increase the safety amongst women and femmes. And that once I woke up from that dream of a man is not going to, and it's someone that has had to reconcile that as somebody that's attracted to men, to cis het men, um, having to reconcile just because I'm attracted to them, the safety that I feel. I've always felt most safe and most secure and with other women, so that when I go into my romantic relationships, I'm not putting all of the. I know that the power to feel safe is it's within me. It's in my community. It makes me value women in my life in a totally different way. It makes me want to create community to run to them instead of isolating myself from them. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
happy that you are really doing this work to create bridges amongst all kinds of women, because I feel like um, those are the us being in community with each other, us sharing information with each other, us leaning and depending on each other. Those are the type of things that it, that not only increase our lifespan but increase our quality of life. And I
Right.
think it's so important, especially for us who are trans, who don't get the opportunity to have those connections because we're so isolated, we're so marginalized, and we we're made to feel like, we're not made to feel. Resources are scarce, so that creates fissures and divisions in our community from other trans folks, from the cis women in our lives. So I'm so happy that we're in a time and a space where programs and organizations are intentionally being created where we can share space and share information with each other, because ultimately it makes us more safer and it makes us more powerful.
Right. Right. And it's just, I am, and I will say all the time, I say that I'm humbled to be in the space that I'm in. And, it's a gift for me to be able to found this organization, not because of what it is at its current state, but for what it can become. And, the biggest thing for me is always to think about creating a legacy for people that come after me. And I always think about, my little sisters or, my niece, and um, I have a brand new niece and nephew. One of my little sisters had twins. And, I think about them and I'm like, I want them to live in a world that doesn't have the same obstacles that I had when I was trying to find community and when I was trying to find, a place of solace and a place of acknowledgement when I didn't feel that I was at my best. Like I wanted to really combat those negative things that I experienced growing up and trying to find refuge and community and create space so they don't have to look far. They can Google or, hear about it or, see something about it and know that, this is a safe space and it's here for you and it's here for us. So, I always think about creating a legacy. That's one of the other things that drives me um, to continue to produce and to continue to do what I can. Um, and of course, as I know that I stand on the shoulders of all of the women that have done amazing, amazing things before me to even make the space for me to do this. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking forward to the the continuation of this collaborative growing and really becoming, you know, eventually a legacy project. Um, because I'm gonna go on to do something else because that's the type of person that I am. I kind of start things and I build them, grow them. They're good, just like children. You you take care of them until they're ready to fly the coop, and then you still take care of them, but you kind of let them go on their own. So
And I saw that Just Love Collaborative just just got a physical space.
mhm,
So
yeah,
congratulations on that. What
yeah.
type what type of things do you plan on do? Is it just an office, or will it be a space where you'll be able to hold some of like these individual or group sessions?
So for now, it's just our headquarter location. The hope and desire is to create a space where we can have like a drop-in space, a space, as you mentioned, to do different types of programmatic things for women and girls of color. I would love to have like an after-school program for girls and young ladies that are in high school and middle school, elementary school, um, and I really have some great ideas around um, peer-to-peer support and what that could look like. I'm not going to say specifically what it is because it's still in development, and we still have quite a bit that we're going to be doing as it relates to listening sessions with women and girls to really hone in and identify the needs that are in the different areas that Just Love will be supporting. So for now, it's a headquarter location, but we definitely plan to grow.
So when is your birthday, Jade?
I'm an Aquarius.
Okay.
February,
Okay.
February the 6th was my birthday.
Oh, so you had well, happy belated. Well, I
Thank
feel like
you.
I told you happy birthday,
You
but I just
did.
want to acknowledge. Yes, I just want to acknowledge it.
You
So
did.
you're so Aquariuses usually have innovative and unique ideas. They're outspoken leaders, but very social. Want harmony. Air signs typically want harmony, peace, balance. So yes, I'm as you can tell, I'm very into signs. Um what
Good.
so just being forward thinking, just putting some positive, because who knows, one day you might listen to this show 5 years from now just to see um if this comes to fruition. We're hopeful that it
Oh
will,
yeah,
but
honey. We're in the business of manifesting over here.
yes,
We
manifesting.
manifest over here.
What is one type of activity or program that you would want Just Love Collaborative to do or to do in the future? Like what's one activity that you like, a dream activity that you would want to do within this organization?
So one of the things that I would love to do within this organization is I want to do a school where, so as a woman who I wasn't, I'm, as a woman who has kind of bloomed into the woman that I am today, there's so many different aspects of womanhood that I had to learn on my own and that I may not have had, the support that I needed to understand or to know how to do certain things or, um, you know, how to, I'm gonna just use this as an example. If you're growing up in the South, um, as a person assigned male at birth, they're not teaching you how to shave your legs or how to do things that you may ordinarily or that, societal may tell you, oh, well, this is something that you learn how to do when you're so on so years old, right? So one of the things that I want to do is to create a school for women and girls of trans experience where they can come to get the answers to all those questions that they have no one to ask. Or for any woman or girl of color to come and get the answers to those questions that they may not have someone to ask. You hear oftentimes that, someone may have been raised by their grandmother or by their aunt or by, their mother or their father or someone whom may not identify in the same way that this woman or girl may identify, and there's like a missing connection that they would have loved to have with other women or other girls. So the school essentially will be that missing link and provide those tools and resources, like how to cook for yourself, how to sustain your own well-being, nutrition, diet, exercise, um, different types of educational things that you may want to learn about, women's history, understanding, trans folk didn't just pop up on the map in 2019. We've been around for a long time, historically, whether it's written or not. Um, so really wanting to provide this love enriched school um, that's going to, it's kind of like I'm going to say this, but it's not the same. But I'm going to develop a way that it's going to be less jarring. But kind of like a charm school. You've heard of like charm schools, not
Right.
not the reality TV charm school, but a real life kind of situation that provides those needed resources for women and girls. That's really what I want. Because I think about when you were, a young lady and you were, kind of bopping around trying to figure things out. Wouldn't that have been a dream to go somewhere and have like a big sister, and she kind of showed you the ropes, um and in a safe way, and in a space where you felt seen and heard, and you were able to tell her your goals and what your dreams are, and she kind of was there to help you to develop and to grow. That's the vision that I have for the school, um, and that's what will come to fruition at some point in time.
No, that I think that's a great idea. And I was lucky enough to have a trans mother that kind of was able to instill some of that stuff into me.
Mhm.
But it would have been great in addition if I could have came out into a bigger community, just to have women of all experiences, preferably more advanced than me, just laying hands, cis and trans, just laying hands on me, kind of guide, kind, honoring my womanhood,
Yeah,
honoring the girl inside me, and just kind of pushing me forward and guiding me along, and um, giving me space to question certain things and to ultimately grow into whatever version of myself that I wanted to grow into. So I think that's
absolutely,
very important.
absolutely.
So thank you. We're coming up to the end of the episode. Before we get off of here, I definitely want you to tell folks how they can get in contact with you, how they can find out more information about Just Love Collaborative. But before we go there, are there any last things that you want to say about Just Love, about yourself? Any last words or anything you want to leave the audience with?
I would just say, as a reminder, don't forget to smile even through adversities, through, challenging times. Um, I have found that even if I didn't mean it, finding an opportunity or a space to smile, um, and to remind yourself that love is something that you can give yourself, and it's something that doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be unattainable. It's something that you can provide to yourself and that exists in the world, regardless of what's going on. So I just, hope that people are reminded of the love that they are, the light that they are, and that, collectively, the hope is that we can all thrive and that we can all find joy in the lives that we live. And that we can find, this synergy where, people acknowledge and see other human beings for being human beings, and we celebrate and acknowledge our human experience collectively. And that, we just live life and thrive. That's really what, I want for, everyone that hears this and just people in general to know.
Sorry. So where can folks find you at, and where can folks engage with you at?
So Just Love Collaborative is the name of the organization. Our website is Just Love Collab, COLLAB. .org. We're on all social media platforms, Facebook, Just Love Collaborative, Instagram, Just Love Collaborative, and Twitter, Just Love Collaborative. So we're on all social media platforms.
Miss Jade, thank you so much for coming down to Girl Down Podcast. I appreciate you for your time, and I know your organization is going to be so successful because you are not only just a loving person, you, like I said at the beginning of the show, you are a boss and you are effective and you get things done. And that's one of the things that I admire the most about you. But I just want to thank you for coming down and taking time out of your schedule to share space with me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you for having me. I'm honored and humbled by everything that you said. I'm thankful that my presence translates in the way that I hope it does. So much appreciation, sending you so much love and light, and so much just affirmation and acknowledgement of, all of the things that you've done and you've accomplished, because you yourself are a force to be reckoned with. So I definitely appreciate you for everything that you're doing, and just the things that you will continue to do. And I look forward to the growth of this podcast and your media platform in the future. We might be on the Brianna Talk Show, honey.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible. You never know. It's always good to have different dreams. So I look forward to the future.
Awesome.
So I want to thank you all, the audience, for listening. Make sure if you have any reactions to this episode to write me at girldownpodcast@gmail.com. If you're on Twitter, use the Girl Down Podcast hashtag or hashtag GDP. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to rate and review this podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to thumbs up and leave a comment in this video. And until next time, I will see y'all. This is Aeon. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Girl Down Podcast with me, Aeon. If you like the show, please be sure to go on over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast. Also, make sure that you're engaging with me on social media. Also, if you have any inquiries or you want to send me any questions, be sure to email me at girldownpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, bye y'all.